Camp Cloud is not to be thought of as disbanded or disrupted in any manner.
Camp Cloud comes down, but demonstrators say they won't back down.
But it takes one little 15-year-old to open everybody's eyes. And I ask why.
The mother of Tina Fontaine still seeking answers 4 years later.
To honor those missing and murdered, to kind of reclaim Indigenous space in the city, and to employ local community members.
And a Winnipeg building gets wrapped in a star blanket.
Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward.
And I'm Melissa Ridgen. Camp Cloud, the pipeline protest camp on Burnaby Mountain, was raided by the RCMP. The city of Burnaby began tearing down the Camp Cloud after the RCMP raid. The Supreme Court of British Columbia granted the injunction and order allowing the city to dismantle the camp. The raid occurred a little after 5 a.m. local time Thursday morning. 5 people were arrested and released on the promise to appear in court in November. Camp Cloud members say they're still planning a mobile unit even if the camp no longer stands.
Camp Cloud is not to be thought of as disbanded or disrupted in any manner. Camp Cloud is a mobile monitoring station now, and we're on the move now. A cloud just doesn't stay in one form. It creates many, many other clouds and can dissipate and reappear.
Smoke from the wildfires in British Columbia have sparked air quality advisories across much of Western Canada. Portions of BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan and Manitoba are affected. Environment Canada warns those with respiratory issues to stay indoors. The smoke is dense in Calgary, where the sky is a dark, dirty brown. Air quality in the city Wednesday hit a +10+, the worst possible rating. In Edmonton, the smoky air forced the local CFL team to move their practice indoors. Meteorologists suggest the smoke won't be leaving anytime soon. There are nearly 600 fires burning in all regions across BC.
This Friday will mark a grim anniversary. It will be 4 years since the body of 15-year-old Tina Fontaine was pulled from the Red River in Winnipeg. I spoke with her mother, Tina Duck, ahead of the tragic anniversary.
I just want to heal and wish I could see my baby again. She would have been 19.
Tina Duck continues her search for closure, something she's been after for 4 years now. Her daughter, Tina Fontaine, was pulled from Winnipeg's Red River on August 17, 2014. The man charged with the 15-year-old's death was found not guilty in February. Duck was shaken by the verdict.
I was mad. I was upset. How everybody let her down.
The not guilty verdict sent shockwaves across the Indigenous community, still reeling from the not guilty verdict in the Gerald Stanley trial when he was acquitted in the shooting death of Colton Bushy. Winnipeg police also expressed their disappointment in the acquittal. The Fontaine investigation is classified as open. However, police say they are not seeking any further suspects.
But I'm not going to stop. I want to find out who did this. Somebody can't just beg a 15-year-old, suffocate her, and not do anything. Somebody has to know something. I just wish they would speak out so I could stop hurting.
Tina's death led to the reemergence of the Bear Clan Patrol, which has spread across Canada, led to changes in the child welfare system in Manitoba, and it played a large role in the establishment of the long-sought-after national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls.
It should have been done a long time ago. Should have opened everybody's eyes then. But it takes one little 15-year-old to open everybody's eyes. And I ask why. And I still wonder.
Duck finds it hard to hear her daughter's name brought up in the media. She wants Tina to be remembered as a loving, caring, and outgoing child. And she wants answers.
I want justice for my daughter. I want somebody to find who did this or who's talking about it. Somebody out there must know something. They're just not saying. Whoever put my daughter in the river has to come out and say something sooner or later.
The small town of Cardston in southern Alberta is a close neighboring community to the Blood Reserve. Many from the reserve say there have been countless racist acts towards their people, which usually go unnoticed. But one non-Indigenous man stepped in when an Indigenous senior was refused a meal.
It was at this A&W Nick Dreger says an employee called the RCMP after he bought breakfast for an elderly Indigenous woman with a walker.
I didn't think that they should be doing that, and she hadn't done anything wrong.
He says an Indigenous couple ahead of him in line tried to order food for the woman first, but were refused by an employee.
The store clerk felt that it was store policy that they can't sell a third party a meal. She said, well, it's our loitering policy. I said, I think that's a pretty racist policy.
Dreger says the woman then left the restaurant. That's when he stepped in and bought her a sandwich without any issues.
I said, well, then why did you refuse to serve the people in front of me when they asked, but you were fine with me? They didn't really have an answer for that.
He said he then overheard the employee call police. Dreger was visiting Cardston from Athabasca for a family gathering. He said he's heard similar stories from locals.
We need to address it. It's a matter of what's right. If we don't address it, we're going to be in for bigger problems down the line.
One group from the nearby Blood Reserve is trying to do just that. In June, they set up the Nitsitapi Peace Camp to bridge the gap between Indigenous people and their non-Indigenous neighbors by documenting everything they see.
We're asking for healthy, thriving relationships between Cardston and Ghana.
The camp was taken down in honor of the tribe's Sundance, but spokesperson Shauna Fox says it will be back.
I would like to walk downtown through the streets of Cardston and have one of the residents of Cardston smile and say hello and ask me how I'm doing and mean it. Now, isn't that simple enough?
Fox says following the setup of the camp, Cardston restaurants like Ming's Garden and Subway have been giving leftover food to the homeless. In an email to APTN, A&W Canada admits they should have handled the situation better and say they are taking steps in assisting the woman with receiving the support she requires. Dreger says A&W needs to hear Indigenous voices.
I think that the main thing they need to do is talk to the people in town in the peace camp who are documenting these problems and probably have their finger on the pulse the most about the situation. And if you don't put the people who have been disempowered in the driver's seat on how to solve the problem, you're not going to solve any problems.
Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Cardston.
Now, Dreger and other witnesses say they are certain RCMP attended the A&W, but an RCMP Alberta spokesperson told APTN no complaint came through dispatch or directly to the office and denied their members attended the A&W. Time for a quick break, but stick around. Coming up, the Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami election results are in.
But first, here's your weather for tomorrow. On the East Coast, we've got sunshine and 26 in Fredericton, Charlottetown is sunny and 21. 8 and sunshine for Nukchak, 22 and sunny in Happy Valley, Goose Bay. Rain in Quebec City and 22, 22 also in Montreal with some rain. And rainy down in southern Ontario, 25 in Peterborough, 27 in Toronto, 25 in London. Further north, we've got some sunshine up in Big Trout Lake and 22, 25 and sunny in Thunder Bay, 26 and sunny in Sioux Lookout. 22 and sunny in Churchill, 25 and sunny in God's Lake, Norway House. 31 and sunshine in Gimli and Winnipeg, 32 and sunshine in Brandon. 34 and sunny in Regina, 30 and sunny in Saskatoon, 34 down in Estevan, 24 and rain in Uranium City and Stony Rapids, 25 and some cloud and smoke in La Ronge. Welcome back. Yesterday, we reported that the federal government wants to create another statutory holiday. This one will mark the shameful history of residential schools. One MP is now finding some support for her private member's bill. NDP MP Georgina Jolibois introduced Bill C-369 nearly a year ago. It seeks to make National Indigenous Peoples Day on June 21st a cross-country holiday, but she's now worried it will be radically changed in light of the call for a residential day school.
It would have been very helpful if the federal government, Prime Minister Trudeau and his government, consulted with me, have talked to me in detail about what they're trying to propose. And in light of what is occurring, in light of what the federal government has introduced, have to be very cautious that the government might be playing games and playing politics.
Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami, the National Inuit Lobby Group, voted today to choose a president and decided to stay the course when it comes to leadership. Incumbent ITK President Natan Obed was awarded a second term today at the organization's general meeting in Nunavik. Obed was first elected as president back in 2015. After today's victory, Obed had this to say to the ITK delegates.
Do my best to continue implementing our strategy and action plan and all the great work that has been directed to us by the ITK Board of Directors. Also will ensure that we continue to have improved relations between our Inuit regions in the way in which we undertake our work. And also I pledge to do even more to communicate with all the Inuit across Inuit Nunavut.
The Anishinaabe Aski Nation held their election Wednesday, and a familiar face was returned to the lead of the organization. Alvin Fiddler was re-elected for another 3-year term. Nan represents 49 First Nations in Northern Ontario. However, Deputy Grand Chief Annabeti Aknipaneshkam will not return. She was defeated by challenger Tom Navo.
It's a challenge that is being panned. An initiative by the federal government asking Indigenous communities to come up with innovative ideas for housing. Additional details on the $30 million up for grabs are expected this fall. To shed a little more light on the project is Natalka Seamock, a Senior Director at Indigenous Services Canada. Thanks for taking some time to join us here today. Can you tell us a bit about why this challenge is being held and how it'll work?
Oh, yes, hello. It's an opportunity for First Nations and Inuit and Métis communities to provide ideas to the government on housing and infrastructure, how to do it better, how to build better homes, how to do it better.
And do you know how the challenge will work? Will a community receive 10 houses, or do you know?
So it's different than a regular program. So as you know, the government has provided $2.7 billion in the last 3 years for building housing and infrastructure. This is funding for ideas, for supporting creative ways on how to do things better, how to build better. So it does have a different objective.
Right, but do you know how the details will work for those who are the winners?
So right now we're in the designing phase of the challenge. So there's a group of Indigenous members that are being put together that will be designing the challenge itself. Once that's done, the challenge will be launched in the fall. But the idea is to have ideas go to builds. So there'll be definitely builds over the 3 years.
And we do want to be clear, this money is not coming, as he said, from any of the allotted money that's set aside for the much-needed housing for Indigenous communities.
That is correct. This money is for creative solutions to come from communities on how this could be done better. That's the intention, and it's in addition to the money set aside for the actual housing that was already announced.
As you mentioned, more details are expected in the coming months, but since the announcement, has there been much interest in the $30 million challenge?
There's been a lot of interest. So since the pre-launch, I have received a lot of calls, also from communities who want to have submit ideas. And in fact, we've had great ideas in the past too that come to us, and so this is an opportunity to start featuring some of those ideas. We've also heard from others who want to figure out how they can participate in this as well.
Well, we'll look forward to those additional details this fall. We'll have to leave it there. I appreciate you taking some time to join us here this afternoon.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you.
The First Nations Transparency Act puts the pay for chief and councils online. A study in The Atlantic looked at the job description of a chief and what it's worth. But band members are still left with a lot of questions. Here's Tina Roche now with her third and final report on what band councils are putting in their financial reports.
At the peak of the Idle No More movement 2 years ago, Mi'kmaq activists went on a hunger strike.
And we had to do something, and we had to take drastic measures.
They were protesting treaty negotiations taking place in Nova Scotia. The concern, Mi'kmaq people were being kept from knowing what was happening behind closed doors. Today, Terry Pennell says not much has changed.
Nobody trusts what the leadership is doing. One little rumor can just offset an entire community. You know, it'd be a huge uprising or uproar or upset because just one little thing can start the ball rolling because nobody really knows.
Social media is a tool for band members to ask questions, but not necessarily find answers.
And there's a big, huge communication barrier going on right now, and that has to be broken. That barrier needs to get broken down.
Daniel Toney says it's not just about more talk. Both council and community need to listen.
I just want to see us all work together. If we're not working together with our government, with our chief, and we're always fighting them, then nothing will get done, nothing. It will just be still stuck in the same squabble.
Chiefs do much of their most important work with agencies or groups outside the community. That makes dialogue with band members even more important.
We continue to work on the communication thing, and I think we need to improve on that. We know that, we hear that, you know, so we're trying to do the best we can with what we have right now.
A research group in The Atlantic issued a report on what the job of chief entails.
In spite of everything being written down, there's still many misconceptions about what people believe chief or council are responsible to do.
It can be an odd contrast. Band members feel like they're left in the dark, yet chiefs often live in small, close-knit communities.
And you are accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Somebody can actually come to your house or call you or text you and ask you to do something. I don't know more.
The flip side for band members is a fear of retaliation for asking too many questions, losing their spot in line for housing or a job. Pennell says that's changing.
People are talking, people are speaking out, and it's no longer, you know, the hush topic that it once was.
Band members like Pennell want more than information. They want input from broad issues like treaty rights to a vote on the chief's salary. Tina Roche, APTN National News, Halifax.
It's time for another break.
But stick around, there's much more to come, including the rest of tomorrow's weather forecast.
To northern Alberta, we've got 22 in Sunshine and High Level, Peace River and Grand Prairie are in at 23, lots of smoke in there. Lots of smoke through southern Alberta too, 25 in Edmonton, 28 in Calgary, 32 in Medicine Hat. To BC, smoke in Kamloops and Penticton, 30 degrees in the former, 27 in the latter. 15 up in Dease Lake, 21 in Fort Nelson, Fort St. John's in at 26. 15 in Dawson City and Mayo, 16 in Whitehorse, and some sunshine down in the southern part of the Yukon. 14 in rain in Norman Wells, 21 in rain in Yellowknife. 6 up in Tuck with some rain. Inuvik is also going to be a little bit of rainy and 8 degrees. 19 in sunshine in Baker Lake, 21 in Arviat and Whale Cove with some sunshine. 2 in Resolute, 6 in Igloolik, and 10 in Iqaluit.
Welcome back. A new mural is going up on a well-known building in Winnipeg's West End. The piece, being led by Métis artist Kenneth Lavalley, is honoring missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. But as Brittany Hobson shows us, it's also reclaiming space in the city's urban center.
This group of artists and volunteers are on their 3rd day of painting. It doesn't look like much now, but by the end of the week, this 2-story building will be wrapped in a star blanket mural.
It's to honor those missing and murdered, to kind of reclaim Indigenous space in the city, and to employ local community members. So.
Métis artist Kenneth Lavalley says his latest project also honors the work being done inside the Helen Betty Osborne Centre. Located in the city's West End, the building is an extension of the University of Winnipeg and houses a learning centre. Osborne was a Cree woman from Norway House First Nation. In 1971, she was kidnapped and murdered while walking in the Pas, Manitoba. Angeline Nelson, manager for the centre, says it was important to commission artwork that honors those in the community.
As a community organization kind of within the University of Winnipeg, it's really important to kind of reclaim our spaces, understanding that there's a high Indigenous population in the area that we serve. I think it's important to reflect the people that we also serve.
This is the 5th mural in Lavalley's Star Blanket series, and the largest one to date. The mural will cover all 4 sides of the center. The project was started 4 years ago.
It was a kind of organic process. I had an idea to make a public art sculpture of a kind of a star blanket draped over kind of an invisible person to honor those missing and murdered and lost. That project didn't go through, but I kind of like this idea of the star blankets as a sign of kind of hope and just honor.
For Lavalley, painting murals isn't just about raising awareness. It's also about creating happiness.
It's a way to just brighten up the neighborhood and kind of brighten up your day and show that there's life and, you know, activity going on.
The latest mural is the first creation in the Wall-to-Wall Mural and Cultural Festival taking place in September. Brittany Hobson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
That's the news for Thursday, August 16th. We leave you tonight with some of the smoke blowing in the Yukon from the BC wildfires. Have a great night. I'm Melissa Ridgen.
And I'm Dennis Ward. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great night.